This time I have a Yamaha RXV1700, a multi-channel Dolby Digital receiver, relatively recent vintage, I guess. It's got HDMI, so it's a few years old, but it's more recent enough to have HDMI. This one's totally dead. Nothing. Press the power button, nothing. No relay clicks or anything. I got a bit of a surprise for you at the end. Check it out. Dead. The very fact that nothing clicks, I have no standby. So I'm going to concentrate on the standby board here first and see whether we get a problem in the standby. There's a separate little transformer down here that drives the low voltage for the standby circuits. So if there's no standby voltage, the set isn't going to turn on no matter what. So that's the first thing to check, is the standby voltages. Now, to do that, to make it easy, I'm going to remove the board just so that I can get at things, because there's a cover, a shield on the side here, which prevents me from getting at a lot of the board. So I'm going to remove the standby board, the low voltage power supply, so I can check that out. To do that, I have to remove the power, the convenient power plugs on the back, and I think there's another screw on the side, and then this board should lift out. There should be one more screw on the side here. Okay, that'll let me lift this out far enough that I can check it. Just going to unplug the power that goes to the main power transformer right up here, just so that it's out of the way. Alright, now I've got a standby board which I can check and test, and I should be able to, if I can get the relay to click on and off on that, then we can power up the rest of the amplifier. Just going to release a few of these wire ties just so I've got a bit of room to work. First things first, I'll check the transformer to see if there's any opens. I don't see any connections on here from the main power board. Got our main power supply coming in. 2 terminals. Comes down to here. There's a regulator, a rectifier here of some type. Fuses are not blown. They don't appear to be blown anyway. But if we trace the power down, we'll see that the power comes in. One side goes down here and it goes to the transformer. The other side comes down and it goes through this component here to the other side of the primary on here. And that is a full wave rectifier, it looks like. Why are they doing that? Well, that'd be feeding back from the transformer. What are they doing? Doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like one terminal's coming through here, going through the diodes of this rectifier, and then going down to the transformer. That's kind of an odd way of doing things. So they got a hot rectifier, and then this is the cold side. They got a hot rectifier over here. That is probably to drive the relay. What? Well, I don't know what the heck they're doing here. That's kind of odd. Let me just check some voltages, or check for opens and shorts with the meter. So we'll check, first of all, for continuity on the primary. And the primary has 600 ohms across it, which I think is, well, I don't know, is that what it should be? Here's our secondary, 12 ohms. This primary might be open. Bridge rectifier here. It's got a bridge rectifier across it. So let's put some power to it. We should have 120 volts across these terminals, AC. And if I have 120 volts across these terminals and I don't have anything on the output side here, then, and see, this is the other bridge rectifier over here. There's a bridge rectifier here. Why that's there? So you have a hot side, and then you got a cold side. Anyway, let's put power to this unit and see if we get any AC voltage. Now, I'm plugged into my isolation transformer here. I'm going to plug it into a switch so I can switch it on and off easily. Just use one of these cheap power bar tap things that I can turn on and off. That way I'm not plugging in the cord hot. Alright, let's apply power on the isolation transformer. And we will have 120 volts here. It might help if I put my meter in AC mode and tilt it so that I can read it, besides you guys being able to see it. Alright, 120 volts. What? What? No power? Oh, there we go. 104. That looks awful low. It should be higher than that. What's going on here? 107. Maybe it's this plasma TV that's sucking down the power. There we go. Still low. Why is my voltage low? Maybe the variac got turned down. There we go. 120. Okay. Turn on this plasma TV. I've been testing for the past few days. It's going out today. That's the one I fixed before, which I looked at initially and thought it was just the grounds, but it shut down before going out, and then I got back into it and found a connection on that capacitor, and of course it's been running fine ever since. Alright, let's lose the metal watch bracelet here because I'm working around line voltage. We have 120 volts here. Go over to the primary transformer. I have 57 volts because it's going to drop through this rectifier. What have I got on the secondary here? Do I have any voltage on the secondary? I have 5 volts, so that means that the transformer is working. The output from the standby is 8.7 volts, which is probably what it's supposed to be. What does it say here? It's got a plus 5, and let's see here, our plus 5 is indeed plus 4.5, going down too, isn't it? That's interesting. Is it the meter that's loading it? That should be plus 5, but it is a little low. It's a strange way of wiring the primary for this standby when you think about it. A really oddball way of wiring it. I mean, I know what they're doing. They're deriving the relay drive voltage right off of the AC side. You see, there's a couple of optocouplers here. So when you press the power button, the optocoupler would then turn on this transistor, which would then energize the relay, which would then turn on power to the amplifier. But the very fact that they are feeding the AC through the bridge rectifier and then into the primary is just kind of an odd way of doing it. Maybe it's part of a surge suppression. That might be why they're doing that, is to take any surge load away from burning out the transformer. But anyway, our 5 volts is here. Where am I measuring to? Across the capacitor here, we got 8 volts. Right, 8 volts there. Going to inspect these connections and see if these look bad. They don't from this point of view. Okay, I'm going to throw the board back in because we've got voltage on the standby. That was what I was concerned with, is that the standby wasn't working. That is, so I'm just going to throw this board back in for now, and we will do some more testing. This unit does have a master power switch, and incidentally it is on, but I just want to make sure that it is actually working. Okay, what did that? I just clicked the power and I heard a click click. Well, now it's clicking. What the hell? Well, now the relay's clicking. it wasn't doing that before. So what the hell did I do to it? It wasn't clicking before. I don't think that master switch is at fault. Maybe it's a connection on it. No, now it's not doing it again. Okay, now it's not working. I wonder if the master switch on this has got a problem. There's a secondary switch under here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little board down here. There's a secondary switch on there, and that is the master switch, and it's now not doing anything again. I'm wondering if that master switch has got a problem. Let's just check for voltage on here. AC voltage. Well, it's got 5 volts DC there. It's got 5 volts DC there. Let's turn it off. Got 0. You got 5 volts. So the switch is working. It's now not turning, the power's not turning back on and off. But you heard it just a minute ago. The relay was click there. I just turned the main power on. Now it's clicking. Oh, it's clicking on and off. Now it's locked out again. I wonder. I haven't got the power transformer not plugged in, so maybe it needs to have this plugged in. But that was definitely turning on, and it wasn't doing it before. Plug in the main power. I got the AC turned off now. Okay, it just came on. What the? Now this bloody thing's turning on. What the hell? It's got to be a connection on that board. Because that's all I did was I took that board out and put it back in. And it wasn't turning on before. Turn the master off. Turn the master back on. Turns back on. I gotta have a connection on this thing. It's gotta be a bad solder connection. Let's kill that power again. I'm just going to pull that board out again and take another look at it and just see if I can spot anything, because this thing's turning on now and it wasn't turning on before. So there's got to be something on this board that's at fault. I tell you, if that's all it is, the guy that owns this is going to be thrilled. Like, there's going to be puddles on the floor if that's all that's wrong with this thing. That this unit is working. Because he took it into a shop and they told him it was beyond repair. I won't say the name of the shop, but those that live out in the area can take a wild guess, because there's not very many of them around. But there's not very many shops around that work on stereo equipment. And he was charged an estimate fee only to be told that it was not repairable. So I'm just going to look at this, go over this with a fine-tooth comb, get my magnifiers on, and take a real close look at this board. Watch this lead here. See it wiggling? What do you think? Do you think that's a bad connection? I think that's a bad connection. And that just so happens to be, if we trace where the leads go, I do believe that is the transistor that controls the coil for the relay. I could be wrong, but I believe that's a transistor. It's coming off of this rectifier, which is rectifying the AC side of things. If we look at the way that the traces are laid out here, so these are the optocouplers over here, IC1 and IC2, which isolate the rest of the circuitry for control. And it looks to be that these are in series with each other. So one would probably be a shutdown circuit and the other is the power on. If we look here, we'll see that these are the LED side of the optocoupler, and these are the phototransistor side. And if we look at these four, these are in parallel or in series with each other. So you've got one across here, and you got another one over here. And if we follow this down, this looks like it comes down and it goes across here, and this one comes down here and ends up here on, I think that's probably the base of the transistor. We have a base, a collector, and emitter. Collector is going right to the, is that the positive? Let's see what's on here. That's the positive side. So this is the negative side here. We can still see it. This is the negative side. And this is the positive side of this rectifier. This transistor here comes out, comes back around here. It's a jumper, I believe. That is it a jumper or a resistor? It might be a resistor. But there's a capacitor over here. There's a resistor there, comes around here. Our relay is over here. Looks like there's another transistor over here that drives this. This is probably the regulator, actually, because this looks like the drive transistor for the relay. This is the power relay here. This is what turns on power. These are the pins that go to the amplifier. So our main power comes in here. One side goes, that's probably neutral. This would be the hot side, I think. That goes across here. There's a side of the relay right there. So across here, you can see the jumper. There's a jumper wire right there. There'll be fusing in here too. Power comes in. Whoa, you guys can't even see what I'm doing because my light's in the way. What is that? That looks almost like it's a bad connection on camera. It doesn't look bad to my eye, but anyway, we follow this through. Power comes in, goes across here to here, and ends up on one of the contacts to the relay. The other side of the relay, when the relay turns on, applies power here. This is a fuse right there. That's a fuse. So power comes on, goes through the fuse, ends up on a power pin, which goes to the main power transformer. This is your power control. So power comes in, the jumper there to the relay, from the relay to a fuse to power, and this one here is the neutral side. The coil to the relay is controlled by a transistor that's over here, and this circuitry is controlled from the main board over here, and that connection there looks like that one might be a little bit flaky too. We'll take a close look at this. But this transistor down here, I guess this is a regulator transistor. Well, you can clearly see that's this transistor that's right there. When I just move this transistor ever so slightly, there's an IC there too, I don't know what that does. But when I move that transistor ever so slightly, you can see those pins are certainly not a good connection. Let's take a look at these pins here. This is what goes to the main board. How do they look? Well, I think they should be redone too. I'm going to redo all these because all I did was take this board out, make some measurements, and put it back in, and the set turned on, or at least the relay clicked. So, as I say, the guy that owns this is going to be real happy. Bloody lead-free solder, you know, it's this terrible crap. I hate it. Anybody that thinks this lead-free solder is good needs their head examined. But all for the planet, you know, because we got to get these hazardous materials away. We can't use lead because when someone throws this out, it might end up in a landfill and leach lead into the groundwater. Or it might go to a place where they incinerate them, and then you'll have lead getting into the air. God forbid. Okay, this transistor is the one I want to really do down here. I'm just kind of going over the other ones in the vicinity since I'm in here anyway. I'll do the relay as well, because we know how well they are. The connections are quite often breaking on these power relays. Hard to tell, you know, sometimes they look okay, and then you look at them at a different angle and they just don't look very good. But this lead-free solder has a tendency to look that way anyway. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, it's turning on. It says main on. And the inputs are switching. You can see there's a brightness adjustment on here. The dimmer display. Straight analog. It says straight analog on here, not available. Preset tuning. Oh, wait a minute. Input. Display. Zone controls. I wonder if there's a... Like, I'm just curious as to whether there's a... This display is pretty dim. Although it's pretty bright in here. But tone control, okay, that seems to work. I haven't hooked up any speakers to this yet. That's next. But it seems to be turning on, which is more than it was doing before. I'll hook up some speakers and see if it actually works. Should be pretty good news if it works. I guess it's the moment of truth. Is this thing going to put out any sound? Yeah, it beeped. The radio. I guess I better put on some royalty-free stuff if I want to play it, but I have sound out of the main channels. That's pretty cool. It's working. It seems to be working anyway. That display is not very bright. I wonder if there's a way to brighten that up. I was looking on here, and I don't see any controls on here. Probably need a remote for it. More than likely, the remote is required to do all that crap. Which, of course, is another issue. If you don't have the remote, then you're kind of screwed as far as setting it up. It's got S-video and video inputs on the front, too, for hooking things up temporarily, and an optical input on the front. 3 zones. You can have 3 separate zones on here. 5 categories for tuning. A, B, C, D, and E for memories. And effects, straight, 2-channel stereo. I guess you can probably, I'm going to think you can change your effects through here. Stereo. Okay, this lets you change your different modes. Yeah, because if you really want to make it sound like a church in Freeburg, you can get all kinds of reverberation. Or Hall in Amsterdam, or Hall in Vienna. I mean, come on. Hall in Munich, these are classical settings. And it's got live club, cellar club. You want to sound like the cellar club, the Roxy Theater, bottom line, entertainment sports facility. So you can have it really echoing. Some of the other inputs on here, or the other sources, had to switch over to royalty-free content. I don't want to get any hits. Roxy Theater, the bottom line, live club, sports, action game, I guess it's for gaming, music video, recital or opera, movie standard, movie spectacle, movie sci-fi, movie adventure, movie drama, mono movie, 2-channel stereo, 7-channel stereo, surround decoder PL2X, and then back to a Hall of Munich. I guess you can change here too. Can we change this? That selects coaxial or optical input or analog inputs. Effect. There's got to be a way to change the surround decoder, I think, on here. Movie sci-fi. Here we go, different settings for movies. I got Pure Direct. That turns off all the controls, just give you the straight sound. Actually, it sounds pretty good. That sounds very good. It sounds excellent. Oh, the guy that owns this thing is going to be tickled. Check the other sources on here, or the other outputs. I'm just going to turn this thing around so that I can just start connecting speakers up one at a time, see what I get. I just want to see if all the outputs work. So we'll disconnect the speakers. To do that, I only need one speaker basically. I can get rid of this as well. One less thing to short out. I'm just going to basically check all the outputs. So we'll check this next output here and see if there's sound on here. I don't know whether I'm on a surround source. I might not be on a surround source. I guess it might help if I make sure that I'm not in Pure Direct. There we go. Alright. Let's see if the other outputs work. See if this will just quickly test all the amplifiers and make sure that there's sound coming out of them. Wherever the volume is. That one works. That one works. I don't think these ones are turned on because you got to be in like 7-channel mode for this. Center channel works. What about these ones down here? There's 2 more sets of outputs on here. I don't even know what they do. Are these live? Or are they not? I guess these are not, this might be the second output. It says speaker 2. So this might be zone 2. I don't know. I have to look the manual up on this thing. I'll put this in 7-channel surround mode. I just want to see if all the amplifier outputs work. Input. Tone control. 7-channel stereo. See if we get sound out of this thing now, out of all these other outputs. It should try to simulate something, I think. I might be wrong. Yeah, there's output there. Again, I don't know what these outputs do. There's output on that one. And there's output on this one. And there's output on these ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 channels. I wonder what these ones are. Speaker 1 presence. I see. I don't know what these other outputs do, but it looks like all the channels work on this thing. So that is pretty good. Because you know who the guy that owns this is? Me. I got this for free. I picked this up off Facebook. The guy that gave it to me told me he took it to a shop and they condemned it. So he was giving it away. And I said, I'll take it off your hands. Drove out to North Vancouver and picked it up. I think I did okay. That transistor, I think, the regulator transistor had cracked and was killing the set. I did okay. I don't have a remote for it. I guess I have to look for a remote, but if I can find a remote, I might even put this thing in service. Well, I can program my Harmony remote as long as they're still providing updates. And maybe put this in my home theater system. If you can tell from the sound of my voice, I'm pretty tickled that somebody actually threw this out. I had to check the HDMI ports. I haven't done that yet. I should do that first before I pat myself on the back, because with my luck, the HDMI won't work. Let's hook it up to a TV. I just got to connect it up to the TV that I've just under test here. I don't even know which inputs are which. Cable sat. What is that? That's the cable input. Okay. That works. And this other input should be, I don't know which input I'm on here. Input VCR1. I'm interested to see also whether it will do an upconvert from composite. That's just off the cable box. Alright, so I'll just switch it to the input here. This is the VCR input. I've got my camera plugged in, color bars. So it does, oh, that's just a connector, the patch cord. It does composite to HDMI. That's good. But it's 480i output. This unit looks to be a winner in every respect. I see the surround amplifiers, or a lot of IC amplifiers in here. There are some discrete components in behind here. This got a lot of amps on it though, this unit. Big power transformer over here. Nice unit. These were well built units. Look at the circuit board on here. In order to work this thing properly, a remote control is going to have to be sourced for it, and that could cost more than the unit's worth. Maybe universal remote, but even to set it up, like to set up the inputs. Maybe it's a DVD input that it's on. Let's just see. Okay. There it is. My DVD player was off. My Blu-ray player had been turned off. When I was working on this, I guess the power bar I was using as a controller to power this up and off, it hit the power button, so it turned it off. But there it is. Playing an ABC HD disc. So both inputs work. They're selectable from the front. Again, I still have to find a remote control though in order to work this thing. So that'll be what I'll be doing, is looking for a remote. Anyway, this one's working. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.